This might be the start of something. This is I can't believe it. I think this is a moment in time where it might be the start of like a trend. It might be like the streaming wars, the competition, the price and costs are so high. The budgets are getting ridiculous. You're seeing Netflix's cash flow issues right now. And now it's like, all right, let's all these other streamers don't want to be like that. So they're just cutting the cord before the like we're able to do anything. Not even cut the cord. It's like we're not. I don't even know what we're not going to roll out the TV. I don't know how to even to describe this.
This is interesting because it seems like these streaming services have been slaves to content for so long. And it seems like now the streaming services are putting their foot down. But in this case, it's a very interesting and unique scenario with the Warner Brothers Discovery merger that just happened regarding HBO Max and the former ownership of HBO Max from AT&T. Like there is some real interesting things going on here. So before we dive into right? Whether we think this was the right decision, wrong decision, what it exactly means for HBO Max, Warner Brothers Discovery, right? What it means for these actors. Let's go into like what exactly is happening right now, because I think so there's going to be some listeners that maybe didn't look at the title of this this podcast, and they might be like, what the hell are these guys talking about? And what do they sound so excited about? So I'm going to read through a couple of different tweets, something that kind of took the movie world by storm. Over the last couple hours from when we're recording on this Tuesday night. So Batgirl, which was initially set to be an HBO Max release, set within the DC Extended Universe, starring Leslie Grace's Batgirl, starring J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon, her father in the series, okay, supposedly. You had Brendan Fraser, that was going to be included as Firefly, the main antagonist of the movie. And then Michael Keaton was set to reprise the role of Batman, right, in a multiversal type of story, kind of set after the ramifications of the upcoming Flash movie that also will supposedly include Keaton. We'll get to that. We're not sure if exactly what's happening with that movie either. So Batgirl will not be released theatrically or on HBO Max. Neither one. Okay, so Warner Bros. Discovery decided to cancel the release of Batgirl as they are, quote, committed to making DC titles big theatrical event films, and Batgirl isn't that, end quote. Next, Batgirl, right, at the time of this announcement, was in the final stages of post-production. When it was canceled, it was done filming. They were making final edits. It was ready to go. A rival studio executive on Batgirl being canceled said, quote, they worked in this town for 3 decades, and this is some unprecedented shit right here, end quote. So, and then lastly, last important bit of news before we get into it, Batgirl was canceled so it could take a tax write-down. This was seen internally as the most financially sound way to recoup the cost compared to an HBO Max or theatrical release. So basically, that last text is important, right? That last tweet is important because basically saying that this movie was not going to be financially successful, even if it was just released on HBO Max by the subscribers it got. If it went in theaters, it wasn't going to make enough money. They looked at this $100 million budget. It wasn't going to surpass this budget, right? It had gone over budget initially, and that it was best to take it as a write-off and to basically include it with the merger that happened because these plans were set in place before all this went down with Warner Brothers and Discovery. Ricky Flux, am I right about most of this?
Yes, and I think a key thing here is like everything you said is spot on. I just think a key addition would be you mentioned the budget. It is reported that in order to market this movie, promote this movie, and even do a theatrical release, it would at minimum double the budget.
Wow.
And there is no way they were going to make that back, and they knew that. And it's just what's crazy. Why is this so shocking? It's because post-production, less than we're 3 months away from the release, and like right before you're about to see a teaser probably is when they shut this down. The latest stages possible to shut a movie down is when this has never been done before for a major movie or project like Batgirl with a Michael Keaton, a Brendan Fraser, 2 people that have been in the industry for so long that have started
J.K. Simmons.
Leslie Grace is on the come up after In the Heights. It is, and Warner Brothers. This is telling for a studio. Warner Brothers might be like they're one of the big 6 studios. They might be the most iconic studio, and they're the ones doing this as well. That is telling, especially after their issues with Christopher Nolan, their issues with Denny V with Dune, and that getting a theatrical release, and also an HBO Max release. So they are coming. They're basically saying, "Hey, this is a business, right? This is Warner Brothers still. We want you to make great films, but you know what? If you're not going to make money, we're gonna cut you off." And that's a problem that Netflix, they're trying to catch up to these established studios and with IP content and saying, "Hey, we're just going to let you run." But like our review today in The Gray Man, clearly when they let directors run and they don't cut them off, they get a bad product. And there's a couple more seasons, a couple TV series from Netflix today that got announced after a single season that got cut again or canceled. But Warner Brothers, what they're setting the precedent right now is that before they release the season, they're going to cut it off before it even gets before it comes out, before it releases, which is
But
unprecedented.
but this is kind of crazy because I think this is a once. I don't think this is going to be a repeated scenario because of the merger and like the fact that they could write this movie off. They did the same thing with a animated Scoob sequel that I believe was going to be like a holiday or a holiday special of some sorts, right? As a result, why I find this shocking is for a couple of reasons. One is that you have the leniency of the MCU with Disney Plus, and you see that type of relationship happening right now. All these series coming on. We've yet to see the DC extended universe relate with HBO Max in a meaningful way. That is like products that are strictly made for HBO Max, right? And this would have been one of the first major ones, if not the first major one, alongside the likes of stuff we may talk about today with like Blue Beetle that was supposed to come out on HBO Max. And then Green Lantern Corps that was supposed to come on HBO Max. There's also a Superman related product that might be a TV series on HBO Max. All that kind of is in flux right now. But also the DC extended universe set like this tone, right? After moving on from the Snyderverse, that they were going to have these female-led projects, these diverse-led projects, all right, where we have Sasha Calle, Latina actress, playing, right, a relative of Superman. You have Leslie Grace, an African-American actress, playing, right, Commissioner Gordon's daughter as Batgirl. And now, right, after setting this precedent, you're going to have these female-led, female-empowered superheroes. All of a sudden, they're getting this project pulled underneath them after it was 100% completed and it was in post-production. Like, to me, that is such a bad look because you wanted to separate yourself. You wanted to say, hey, what were you doing that Marvel wasn't doing? Now you are setting priorities that, okay, it's not really based on the background of the actors, like the female empowerment that we're talking about. It's more about what are actual events for our audiences. And I think that just is a huge hit for the DC brand after they've had such a hard time like kind of recouping and trying to get over what happened with the Snyderverse and what happened with Justice League and into like the fanfare and all that. It's you're once again causing a rift between the studio and the fans. You know what I mean?
Definitely, this is like the one thing, the female-led characters, superheroes, is what Disney, Warner Brothers had over Disney, over Marvel. And we saw when Marvel tried it, Captain Marvel, Black Widow, they were late to the party, right? And this isn't just like we had Wonder Woman, right? Harley Quinn, huge successes. Even in Harley Quinn and the Suicide Squad, that was an atrocious movie, but somehow we got
In
Harley Quinn out of it.
Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad, yeah,
Yeah,
not the Suicide Squad,
right.
Suicide Squad, yes. So, and she got her own solo movie. She was in the Suicide Squad, and again, it's the one thing they had. Now, I'm gonna have a hot take here. Yes, I agree. This is a terrible look. This is awful. But I, if this wasn't gonna be good or this wasn't gonna like come out to something, then this is what you should do. This is honestly what a studio should do. You don't want to be Netflix where they're struggling for cash and then they can't do anything, and then they're gonna cut off Martin Scorsese, cut off all these famous filmmakers from joining them from the future because they don't want to do any more projects. But then they're making Gray Man franchises, spinoffs. We don't want to be there, right? Especially if you're one. So okay, we can't be doing that. And also, this also kind of clears up the DCEU versus DC. This kind of makes things simpler.
The HBO Max movies that were about to come out were kind of going to muddle things up a little bit. Like what we're hearing about potential Supergirl movie and a Batgirl movie, it's diverting them like from the potential we have of like Henry Cavill returning. Right, we see what Robert Pattinson's doing. We have Michael Keaton that's supposed to come back. And you have Ben Affleck that's now being like teased, and he's going to be in not only The Flash but Aquaman 2 as well. It kind of helps clear up the DCEU vision. So I 100% agree with what you're saying. It does clear up the vision a little bit. I don't know. It's like, to me, like, and I wasn't sold that this movie was going to be successful. We saw the suit. Right, it looked almost like a little CW-esque. We weren't convinced on these filmmakers, but at the same time, like I'm gonna be a little sympathetic because they literally made an entire movie that will never be seen. Like they had their movie canceled for a tax write-off. They made a superhero movie in the age of superheroes that's a part of the Bat family, and it got written off. That is embarrassing. I feel bad for these guys, and like it just felt like the rug's being absolutely taken from underneath them.
It's okay. Yes, I am.
Brendan Fraser too, our plump boy, getting taken away a superhero villain opportunity. Get him, like Marvel, get him on the phone right now. Get him on the phone right now. We need him like in a superhero movie to get help with this Fraser Sans. We got to get that back on track.
Having a big week. He was having a monster week. The Still of the Whale came out. He was talking about Sadie Sink. He was talking about Darren Aronofsky. He was on
a lot of short lists, like potential like best actor nominees.
Yeah, he's getting the hype this week, and then all of a sudden, just splat, like his freaking character was going to be in this movie, The Fly or whatever. Like splat, like holy crap! Terrible week it's been for him past 7 days. But
same with Michael Keaton, by the way. Michael Keaton came out saying he's never seen a Marvel property after being one of like hailed as one of the best Marvel villains we ever got. And then like this happens to him. I'm low key just like, that's what you get, bro. That's what you get for not showing respect to these fan bases. I know you're a busy guy, but the fact that you say that and you know how much people care about that character, disrespectful.
It's unbelievable. And I just want to say this. Remember the podcast when we said that maybe the DCEU wasn't going to have a Batman and not going to have a Superman? What were they going to do? The Superman from the Supergirl from the Flash and Leslie Grace's Batgirl was going to replace.
It's off the table now.
That's just impossible now. And I'm not saying I wouldn't like them to be like prominent.
It's interesting because now we get a picture of Affleck coming out in Aquaman 2.
We get a picture of
sudden he's back in the picture.
We get we get a picture of Affleck. We get Henry Cavill news or rumors around Comic-Con last week. I think the Snyderverse, unfortunately, is dead. But I'm not saying the Snyderverse characters are dead now.
No,
I think they're on the way back. If anything, like confirmed after this.
Judging by the quotes from this news story saying they want to have big theatrical events, like what's the best way you want the DCEU to keep kicking? Bring back Affleck, bring back Cavill, bring back Batman, bring back Superman. And you don't have to worry about continuity issues, right? You can still have what Pattinson's doing right now. Just get Keaton out of there. Honestly, just get Keaton out of there. I was never like on board in the first place. Like everyone wants to see Affleck instead. I know a lot of these people that are interested in seeing these superhero movies. I get it. There's some people that feel like such a strong connection to Keaton. Okay. But a lot of younger audiences, they want to see Affleck back in the role. Get him back in there. Why not? It doesn't have to be Zack Snyder just because these actors are there. It's not like Joe Johnston, like directed the first Captain America, first Avenger, right? He was there early on, phase 1. Does he have anything to do with like the subsequent Captain America movies? No, the Russo brothers came in with Winter Soldier, Civil War, and then obviously Infinity War, Endgame. It doesn't have, you can keep the same core. You can keep the same character, just bring different people and make different types of movies around them. That can be honestly the best case solution for the DC extended universe. Bring it back. Let's see what happens. Affleck maybe even directs his own movie. Who knows? Just get him back. There's just like, even if they don't get us, like Cavill should get a solo one. I'm not sure that like Affleck should after the success of the Batman. Maybe you don't make another solo Batman with Affleck yet, but like have him still a part of the universe. Maybe a Justice League movie comes out again, all right, and he becomes a centerpiece once again, right? It's possible. He's good in the role. I mean, this does provide that opportunity. It's crazy. A downfall like this, what seems like such a terrible situation, could actually be a positive, and it could be the direction that actually DC needs to be successful in the future.
We're so on the same page with this. Like
Yeah.
I hate
People are
it's
gonna
like
hate this take by
like
us. People are gonna hate this.
like it's similar to like when like a professional athlete versus the owners in like negotiations when like you don't want to take
Yeah.
the owner's side because you want to see the players get paid, like in the MLB. But it's like, okay, well, then if we have a 125 game season, we can't be paying you like it's 164 games, let alone pay you
People
more. And then it's like, oh my God, you're not on the player's side. It's like,
People
well,
are
you're
gonna be
not
thinking
playing the
like we're
same amount of
cheering for Dan
games.
Snyder, bro. By cheering for
Yeah.
like Warner Brothers, like they think we're cheering for Dan Snyder, and like based on like their past transgressions and what they've done with these characters, with this universe, with this studio, they're gonna be acting like we are the Washington Commander fans, you know,
Yeah,
like
it's just,
supporting Snyder.
and again, like it's not like Warner Brothers is squeaky clean, like I mentioned with Nolan, Denny V, the DCEU, Josh, like everything, Joss Whedon, like they are far from squeaky clean.
But we
This
care about these
proves it.
characters, bro.
But
We care about these
yeah,
characters.
the characters, I can't. They're big in the studio, but to us, they are as fans. So we gotta protect them at all costs. So
100%.
it's not like Batgirl will never be in a movie. It's just this Batgirl, this project, this vision is dead, dead, and I'm
And
okay with it.
the fact they want to focus on big theatrical events makes me think about what just happened at Comic-Con, right? We only had presentations of two different trailers, Shazam and Black Adam. Okay.
This was probably going to be a third.
Shazam is somewhat of a financial success. It's a huge character and it's a potential huge movie theatrically for DC. I think it's going to make more money than the first movie based on like especially the Zach Levi aspect, but beyond that, the villains, the Helen Mirren, Lucy Liu, right, Rachel Zegler, that has box office potential. And then obviously Black Adam with The Rock, box office potential. All right. So I'm not totally shocked that we didn't hear more about what's happening with Warner Brothers and DC during this Comic-Con. We obviously heard a lot about like House of the Dragon because that's going to be an absolute banger. Everyone's going to watch that. It's going to be so profitable for them. But they look at almost that slate of DC, that DC timeline that they probably have, like at Warner Brothers, what they have inside those like very dark protected rooms, and when they have those meetings of like what's going to happen next, they're probably like scratching. They're making X's on things like that Blue Beetle movie. I know they changed it from an HBO Max to a theatrical release, but when you think about like big like superhero events, do you think of Blue Beetle and whoever
No,
the hell is playing him?
no.
No.
Blue
Have you
Beetle,
seen the
no one.
stills of that? It looks like a CW character. Get him out of here, right?
That's
Focus more on
next.
what we're talking about.
That's next. And also, by the way, Shazam, huge success, by the way. $100 million budget, more than tripled its budget just domestically, not even worldwide.
Yeah.
So,
The sequel's
like,
gonna do
holy
better.
crap.
It really
And the
is.
sequels usually make more money, anyways. Usually. So yeah, exactly.
Wonder
I was gonna
Woman
say,
probably still gonna keep it.
that's what I was gonna go with it until, like I said, the Shazam thing. So Wonder Woman, besides Blue Beetle, that's the next circle. What do you do?
It's
If
tough to
I
tell after that second one because obviously the HBO Max release. It was tough. COVID.
Exactly, but it did very well on HBO Max. The problem is it wasn't good critically. And similar to this, where it's like they were gonna have to pay a fortune to get people to see this movie. Not necessarily saying it's good, just the draw wasn't there. Wonder Woman now doesn't have the same draw it did after the first one for the sequel, 1984, just because of how bad it was. So it's like, okay, here we go again. And do we have is Patty Jenkins even coming back? We don't even know. Gal Gadot, is she even good anymore? Like, do people want to see her still?
They're
I
both
think yes.
signed on to
I'm
the
just
third
saying.
one, I'm pretty sure.
I could picture Wonder Woman becoming like a Batman or Batfleck, where she's just in like other movies.
That's good though. Like that should
Yeah,
happen in my opinion.
I agree
You
with
know?
it. I
Like
unless,
like honestly,
somehow they
like
rekindle
we're
the
talking.
first magic.
And I'm trying to
Christmas
think of
magic.
like HBO Max, what we're also talking about. I know our internets are kind of crossing over a little bit. It's kind of tough right now. But what makes me think of like HBO Max, what are they known for compared to other streaming services? A lot of the HBO Max content made, right? I know we're talking about Wonder Woman. It's not going to be made for HBO Max in the future. But I just think about like how Warner Brothers and like Discovery plan on running their streaming service in the future. They care about the actual content that's going on there and the quality of it. We're going to talk about the Gray Man today with Netflix, and we're talking about like money being thrown at these directors to make whatever movies they want. It seems like HBO Max and Warner Brothers and now Discovery, they're honing in a little bit and like, okay, saying this is going to be good, this is not going to be good. They just like they signed a licensing deal, I believe, for a bunch of A24 films. They want their streaming service not just to have what everyone views as entertaining, but also just straight up good.
That's
Just
why they
like
got rid of family program. They're not focused on family-friendly programming right now.
just literally, yeah, that just came out too. Like literally, if you want to make a DC product within HBO Max or on HBO Max, it's got to be something worthwhile. And it just was clear that Batgirl was not going to be that based on what they were set, but based on like the amount of subscribers it was going to generate, but also like that level of quality they expect on an HBO Max. And that's
Yeah,
what I
it
respect. I like
I
that.
respect it so much too because, look at this.
It's
Like,
like A24.
Netflix,
Yeah.
they're trying to like, they even said in the last earnings call, they're trying to find their own Harry Potter. They've said that, and they don't think Stranger Things is that. So they're trying to find their own. They're gonna keep spending money. The Gray Man is not that either, and we'll talk about it. So they're gonna keep trying to find theirs. They're also getting into animated, and they're trying to find their own, competition for Disney. HBO, Warner Brothers, is saying, "Hey, Disney is so far ahead of us on family-oriented stuff. Pixar, Mickey Mouse, everything you could think of, kids-wise, Disney owns. Let's just not focus on that right now. Let's
Don't
focus
try
on
and
what we're good at.
replicate. Don't
Look at
try and
what
replicate.
and then
Yes.
look what Apple's doing. If you have Apple TV Plus, go on it right now. Literally in less than 30 seconds, you will see every single piece of content on Apple TV Plus. There is nothing on there.
It's
Literally
minimal and
nothing.
it's all
But it's
homemade. Yep.
it's all homemade, but it's all even if you don't like it, you could tell the quality is there. There's a lot of stuff on there I don't like, but you could tell that, hey, this is money well spent and like a well produced project. Unlike Netflix, which we'll talk about again. But it's like HBO, they're known for well produced content, the best content with regards to TV, and they don't want to lose that. And you know what? With the streaming wars, they're realizing, especially with Netflix's woes, they shouldn't be competing for stuff that they're not good at, such as the family oriented stuff, a la Disney. They should be competing at what they're good at. And that's what they're doing here. You got to respect it. Yes, it sucks. It sucks for filmmakers because we are on the filmmaker side here. We should be able to see this movie, especially since it's done. But at the end of the day, in these streaming wars, in this environment, this climate here, this was extremely ruthless, savage move, but the smart one.
You know what this is like, Ricky, which is really crazy to think about. This is like looking at phase 5 of the MCU timeline, all those projects that were announced, like maybe a early phase 5 product is done, right? And like Quantum Mania is done filming, and all of a sudden it's being crossed off that list for all fans to see, right? Where all that's in post production, it's not as big of a movie, it's not as big of an event. But then again, you still have like Michael Keaton returning to this movie, right? You got J.K. Simmons in this movie, Brendan Fraser on his comeback trail as the main villain in this movie, some big name stars. But the fact that the MCU plans out everything so far in advance, they give you title dates, right? And when things are coming, I should say release dates, even if sometimes they have to make slight adjustments, they don't like throw off fans to the point where they take it completely off the table. It's exactly what happened here, right? Looking at a less than a year away, this movie was going to come. It was completed, and it just shows as much as we love the idea of the DCEU slate kind of being cleansed and the fact that we might open ourselves to bigger theatrical events with these major heroes. Like imagine like there's other fans other than us who just wanted to see Batgirl, and all of a sudden it's pulled out from underneath them, and all because it's a tax write off. That is so disrespectful. That's crazy, but that's business, baby. That's business. How it goes.